السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. Inshallah, next week بإذن الله تعالى we will have a quiz. So يعني just give you the good news inshallah for next week. Inshallah we will have a quiz for both subjects inshallah, and it will be similar to what you have seen in the past inshallah. And this time this quiz will be effective inshallah. It will not be cancelled, it will not be forgotten. We will use it inshallah. So that is next week, as we have gone through a good materials from both books inshallah. So we will have the quiz next week inshallah ta'ala. My intention this time is to try to give you more time to ask questions. If you have any questions from anything from what we have done for both books inshallah ta'ala, so I will try to finish a little bit earlier so that we have more time for the questions inshallah ta'ala. Last week and this week also, just today I had one of the brothers who was watching from home. He said that the session from last week was great or was amazing. Same thing, that brother who attended last week, where Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, he explained the parable of the mushrik and the muwahhid, and also the discussion about as-salah, So I told that brother last week, the one last week, he said, well, the previous session I thought it was the best, but this session is even better. So I told him there will come more that is even better, and I promise, right? And this is especially from Al-Wabil.as-Sayyib. That's why I was trying to focus on this book, because although it's supposed to be a dhikr book or benefits of dhikr, but as you have seen, the Shaykh speaks about the Tawheed, the Uluhiyya, the Rububiyyah, the Asma and Sifat, and he speaks everything, Aqidah, in terms of fiqh, in terms of, he just made it, mashallah, a collection of many things of the Islamic sciences, and he crammed all that together in this book. That's why the quality of it is so high, and that's why I wanted, my initial intention, it was just to do this book only and just to focus on it, so we can have more time to discuss it more, to ask about it more, to analyze it more. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destined and decreed for us to have the two books going on together. So alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, we will just go on with that. Now, last week, Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, he explained part of the hadith of Al-Harith al-Ash'ari. He explained the part dealing with the Tawheed, the order to worship Allah alone and not to associate partners with Him. And he also spoke about the Salah. He explained the part in the hadith where it says that when you stand up for Salah and you face the Qibla, then don't turn. Don't turn. And he explained it as you should not turn with your face physically, and also your heart should not be turning away from being attentive in your salah. And he went on to explain this, and how the salah was a comfort or a source of comfort and coolness of the eye for the Prophet ﷺ, and he would feel peace and serenity when he prays. So that's why he was telling Bilal, bring comfort to us by calling to the salah, O Bilal, by making the iqamah, that is. And he mentioned that the acceptable deeds are of two types. Acceptance in terms of Allah being so much pleased with the doer and the action that he has done, and acceptance in the sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give reward for the salah, will give reward for the deed in general, the good deed in general. Then he classified the people in salah to be upon five levels. And there is the one who is mu'aqab, who is going to be punished because he has fallen short regarding even the requirements of the salah. There is the one who is going to be muhasab, held accountable, and this is the one who outwardly did the salah, but inwardly he did not fight himself to have concentration or to have humility and focus in the salah. The third one is the one whom the salah would wash away his sin, the one who took care of it outwardly and was doing his best, striving against his own self to have the focus and the humility and concentration in the salah. The fourth one is rewarded, this one who took care of his salah inwardly and outwardly. This is someone who is muthab or rewarded. The fifth one is muqarrab, has been brought closer to his Lord, and that is the one who took care of it completely, inwardly and outwardly. And then, as he says, he has his heart, he placed his heart in the hands of his Lord, right? And he, along with him taking care of the salah completely, inward actions and outward actions are taken care of completely, but then his heart is filled with love, and his heart is filled with glorification for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. طيب. So these are the five categories that he mentioned. Now he moves on to say that the servant will become strong in terms of being present in the salah and being busy with in the salah, being busy. His mind is busy with his Lord in the salah azza wa jal. He would only reach that stage, the stage of being present in the salah. His mind is busy with his Lord during the salah. He will only be strong to do that if he defeats and overcomes his shahwatahu wa hawa. If he beats and overcomes and defeats his lusts and also his desires. His lusts and his desires. Shahwa and hawa. If he defeats, overcomes these two, he will be able to have this khushu', this presence, this mindfulness while in prayer. Otherwise, he said, a heart that is completely overcome with lusts, with appetites, and was captivated, a heart that was captivated, taken as a prisoner by the desires, asarahu al-hawa, and the shaitan found in it a seat where he firmly established himself on it. تمكن فيه. He found a seat in the heart and he firmly established himself in it. Then كيف يخلص من الوساوس والأفكار? How would this heart be saved from those evil whisperings, evil insinuations, and evil thoughts? How can he? Right? He is filled with desires and he is filled with lusts, appetites. طيب. He says now, القلوب ثلاثة. The hearts are of three types. The hearts are of three types. There is a heart that is empty of iman, devoid of iman and all goodness. So there is a heart that is a dark heart. The shaitan استراح. The shaitan, he is resting. He is at peace. He doesn't have to toil and sweat and work hard. The shaitan is at peace with this heart, taking it easy with it. He does not have, the shaitan, Satan, does not have to cast evil whisperings and insinuations, evil doubts in this mind, right, or in this heart. That is because he has taken this heart as a home and as his own house. That's his home. Baytan wa watanan. Right? And he took control over it. He does what he wants. Bima yurid. And he is firmly established within this heart. He has taken full control over it. That's the first heart. A dark heart, a heart that has no iman and no goodness at all. Right? No faith and no goodness. The second heart is a heart that has been lit by the light of iman. Wa alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah. And the lamp of iman was lit up there, was ignited there. أوقد فيه. يعني مصباحه. The lamp of iman, right, was ignited there. But it has ظلمة الشهوات. But it has, this heart has the darkness of lusts and appetites. And عواصف الأهوية. And it has also the tempests, the strong winds of desires. The strong winds of desires. So a heart has faith in it. And there is light in there. The light of iman is already started there, ignited or kindled. So there is light. But then you have the darkness of lusts, and also it has strong winds or tempestuous desires. So the shaitan there, he عنده إقبال وإدبار. He has attacks, offensives, and sometimes he runs away. Sometimes he attacks, launches offensives, and sometimes he runs back. Right? So he has محاولات ومطامع. He has trials. He continues to try. And he has مطامع. He has greed. He's longing. There is hope. He has hope that he will win in that heart, or win that heart over. So الحرب دول وسجال. The war is alternating and continuous. Sometimes this one wins, sometimes the other side wins. And the conditions of this type of a heart, they vary in terms of number of times they win or they lose. قلة وكثرة, right? Some hearts win more, sometimes the shaitan wins more, right? Depends. He said, there are amongst these hearts are times when he beats his enemy more, and times when the enemy is the one who is the winner more often. And there is taratan wa tara, right? There are hearts who, if you look at those battles between the heart and the shaitan, maybe this heart, the shaitan wins more. The other heart, the heart wins more, right? And he fights the shaitan and beats him. And sometimes this and that. Sometimes they win over this long period and then the other one wins for a longer period and like that. So this is the second heart. It is a heart that has iman in it, but it has the shahwa, lust, and it has the desires, right? And there are battles between the two sides, the side of iman and the side of the shaitan. The third heart is a heart that is filled of faith, filled of iman. And it has been lit by the light of iman, and the veils of shahawat, the veils of lusts have been completely removed. And also the darknesses has been removed, right? So the light that he has in his heart, the light of iman that is, it has ishraq, it has illumination. And that ishraq, that illumination has iqad. It has also fire to it. Not only gives light, but also there is heat in there. There is fire along with it. So he said, if the evil whisperings, the evil insinuations come close, then they will burn. Those whisperings, they will be completely burnt, because the light of iman is so strong. It is so strong, it has illumination, and it has even the quality of burning too. So when the waswas, when the evil insinuations come close, then they get burnt out. They get burnt out by this strong iman. He said, it is like the sky that was guarded by the stars. It was guarded by the stars. So if the shaitan comes to pass them, then he will be cast and he will be burnt, right? Yani as shihabun thaqib, right? They will be, those shayateen, they try to steal some of the information that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to the angels. They try to steal, and then they get hit by a shooting star, and then they get burnt, right? So this heart, he says, it resembles the sky that was guarded by those shooting stars. And he said that as-sama is not more sacred than the believer. The sky is not more sacred than the believer. And the protection and guarding that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides to the believer, it is more complete than the protection and the guarding that Allah provides for the sky, the heaven. And the sky or the heaven, it is muta'abbad al-malaika. It's the place where the angels worship Allah. It is mustaqar al-wahi. That's the place where the revelation comes down. And in it are the lights of obedience. Fiha anwaru ta'a. That's the sky. The heart of the believer is the place or the residence of at-tawheed, the oneness of Allah, and loving Allah, ma'rifah, knowledge of Allah, al-iman, and believing in Allah. And in it, in the heart of the believer, are the lights of these things, iman, tawheed, and so on and so forth. So هو حقيق أن يحرس ويحفظ. So the heart has the right, is deserving to be protected and guarded from the evil plotting of the enemy. So the enemy will not achieve anything of it except all of a sudden and by way of deception, when the person is unmindful or unaware, and it is only khatfa, one snatch, right? That's how it happens. Because يعني the believer, regardless of what level he is a human being in the end. So he might be in a state of negligence or being unaware. That's when the shaitan comes cunningly. It comes all of a sudden, suddenly, and just gets whatever it can, right? Snatch and then go. He said that there is a nice parable to this, to these three hearts. There is a nice parable, a nice example, Mithal Hasan. And that is three houses, the example of three houses, ثلاثة بيوت. A house that belongs to the king. And in that house, there are the treasures of the kings, the things that precious things that the king is saving, dhakha'ir, right? And it has also the jewelry of the king. The second house is a house that belongs to the servant, the abd. And it has in it the treasures, the savings, and the jewelry of this servant. And it doesn't have in it the jewelry of the king and his savings. The third house is Baytun Khalin Sifrun La Shay'a Fih. A house that is empty, that has nothing in it. Right? There is nothing in it at all. So the robber, now you assume a robber that is coming to steal from one of these three houses. So which one he will steal from? Which one he will steal from? If you say he will steal from the house that is empty, it has nothing in it, البيت الخالي, this would be impossible. كان محالا. This would be impossible. That is because the house that is empty, there is nothing in it to be stolen, to be robbed. This is why Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, he was told, surely the Jews, al-Yahud, تزعم أنها لا توسوس في صلاته. They claim that they never get any evil or bad thoughts or whisperings in their salah. So he answered, وما يصنع الشيطان بالقلب الخراب. He said, what would the shaitan do with a heart that is completely corrupt? Right? It's already corrupt. There is nothing that the shaitan will do to that heart because it's already his. He already has it. He won it over already, and he has taken control of it already. Now, he said, if you say he will steal from the house of the king, then that would be also impossible and is undoable, ممتنع. For it has over it haras and yazak. It has on it guards and securities, right? Soldiers and security guards. In a way that he will not be able to even come close to it. How can he do that when the guard of it is the king himself? And how would the robber be able to even come close to it, and around it all of these soldiers and guards? Then the robber, he doesn't have anything left except the third house. فَلَمْ يَبْقَ لِلِّصْ إِلَّا الْبَيْتِ الثَّالِث. The third house. That is the house where he launches his offensives. يَشِنْ عَلَيْهِ الْغَارَاتِ. So let the wise person reflect over this example and really ponder over it, حق التأمل, and let him, have those three hearts, right? Let him apply these three houses to the three hearts. For فَإِنَّهَا عَلَى مِنْوَالِهِ. He will find that those three houses, they're exactly resembling those three hearts. So you have a heart that is devoid, that is empty from all goodness, and that is the heart of the kafir and munafiq, the disbeliever and the hypocrite. That is a house that the shaitan already won over for himself. أحرزه لنفسه. Right? And stawtana, that's his home. He is residing in there and took it as a residence for him and a place of stay, mustaqar. So what is it that he will steal from it when he has already in it his treasures, and he has in it his whatever arms or savings that he has in there. He has in it his doubts, shukuk, and his khayalat, illusions, and he has his wasawis, evil whisperings in there. And then you have a heart that is completely filled of the glorification of Allah Azza wa Jal and His grandeur and His love, being watchful, shyness from Allah Azza wa Jal. So how would the shaitan even dare to come to this heart? And if he wanted to steal something from it, then what is it that he will steal? The most is that he will achieve, he will gain sometimes a snatch from that place. From that heart, he will get just a snatch from that heart. And nahb, just snatching and taking away, by force, right? Just so fast. And it happens ala ghirra, when the servant is unaware, when he's going to be all of a sudden and cunningly and deceivingly and in a state where he is unaware. غفلة لا بد له منها, a state of unmindfulness that he has to go through it sometimes because he is a human being and the rulings of humanity are applicable to him, and those like ghafla, unmindfulness, as-sahu, and al-dhuhul, forgetfulness and just being, unaware sometimes, and ghalabat at-tab', sometimes the human nature by custom and habit, it will overcome the person, right? Wahb ibn Munabbih, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned that in one of the godly books, it says, so he's quoting from the people of the book before us. So it's not a hadith, it's just a statement that is reported from the previous books. It says, I do not inhabit houses and they do not house me, right? Allah says, and again, this is from the people of the book. It's not a hadith. It says, I do not live in houses and they do not house me. And how can a house house me when the heavens are the filling of the footstool? The heaven is the filling of the footstool. But I am in the heart of the believer. The one who left and abandoned everything other than me. And this, he said, is the meaning of another report, which says, also is not a hadith, and it doesn't have any basis, right? And Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, regarding this report that you will hear, he says it is from the Israeli reports that doesn't have a known chain from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In another occasion, he said it's fabricated, right? But the point here, he mentioned it, so he mentioned it, and let's get the wisdom from that statement. So this report, the first one, it says that I do not live in houses, and how can a house house me when the heavens are the filling of the footstool? But I am in the heart of the believer who leaves and abandons everything besides me. This other report, it says, ما وسعتني سماواتي ولا أرضي ووسعني قلب عبدي المؤمن. That my heavens and earth do not house me, and the heart of my believing servant does. My heavens and my earth do not house me, but the heart of my believing servant does. Right? So basically, it's the believing in Allah and loving Him and so on and so forth. This is all in the heart of the believer. He said, now these are the two hearts. These are the two hearts and the two houses. The third heart, it has the tawheed of Allah. It has the oneness of Allah Ta'ala. Knowing Him, loving Him, believing in Him, believing in His promises and His warnings. But it has also the lusts of the soul and the characteristics of the soul and the colors of desire and habits, the call of desires and habit. And this heart is between these two colors. So sometimes he inclines himself, this heart gets inclined to the color of Iman and knowledge and the love of Allah Ta'ala, wanting Him alone. And sometimes, another time, he will be inclined, he will turn towards the color of Satan and desires and habits and customs. So this heart, the shaitan has hopes, has greed to win it. And له منه منازلات ووقائع. And he has, with this type of a heart, he has offensives and battles that are going on with it. And Allah grants victory to whomever He wills. وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَكِيمِ. And victory is not from anyone except from Allah, the Almighty, the All-Wise. He said, and this type of a heart that is, the shaitan cannot win or cannot establish himself in it except by what he has of his weapons that are in there, that are inside of the heart itself. So the shaitan enters into the heart, so he finds his weapons there in the heart. So he takes the weapons and he fights him with it. For his weapons, the shaitan's weapons that are in the heart, they are الشهوات, lusts, الشبهات, doubts, الخيالات, illusions, الأماني الكاذبة, false wishes, and all of these are in the heart. So the shaitan enters, so he finds them there, so he takes them and يصول بها على القلب. He takes those weapons and he launches the offensive, he attacks the heart. So if the servant has عدة عتيدة من الإيمان, he has strong treasure or strong storage of weapons, right, that are prepared to of strong storage of iman, that is preparation of iman to fight that those weapons. وتزيد عليها, and they are even extra, he has more weapons so he can fight back. انتصف من الشيطان, he will take full justice from the shaitan. He will win fair and square, as they say. He will get him. Otherwise, الدولة لعدوه عليه. Authority, superiority, dominion, the enemy will have it against him. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. There is no change and no power to do any change except through Allah. So if the servant, if the abd permitted his enemy and opened up for him the door to his house, and he allowed him to enter upon him, and he even gave him the ability to use the weapons to fight him with, then he is the one to be blamed. فَهُوَ الْمَلُومِ. He is to be blamed. He mentions a line of poetry which says, فَنَفْسَكَ لُمْ وَلَا تَلُمِ الْمَطَايَ. Blame only yourself. Do not blame the vehicles or the riding animals that took you to whatever place where you got destroyed, right? وَمُتْ كَمَدًا فَلَيْسَ لَكَ اعْتِذَارُ. Right? Die out of pity and sorrow, for you have no apology. Right? Apology is not accepted. You are the one who opened the door and welcomed him and even allowed him to use the weapons that are in there. So he, attacked you and won you over or won over you. So if you want to blame anyone, blame nobody but your own self, because you are the one who allowed him to do that. Now he will go on to explain the second part or the third piece of the hadith, which deals with fasting. Before we move on to that one, do we have any questions regarding what has passed? Yes.
It doesn't talk about how we can deal with the lusts and desires, what to do with that. Although we all have that. How do you handle that?
طيب.
How do you cleanse that?
How do we deal with the lusts and desires? How do we beat them? That's a subject on its own. Inshallah, that's a subject on its own. But inshallah, one of the strongest means is going to come, inshallah. And that is the dhikr. Right? That is the dhikr. And this is one of the main subjects of the book. And that's why he talks about that. Right? So it will come, inshallah. But that's a very nice topic to deal with, inshallah, on another occasion. Yes?
Just a question about the first type of a heart, that he said it belongs like to the kuffar and etc. What if, for instance, like someone might be a kafir, but he's very honest and like it's hard for him to lie, or when he's dealing with people, he's very honest with them. And then someone might have iman, like he might be a muwahhid, but he's dishonest and it's hard for him to tell the truth, and when you deal with him, you have to be a little bit careful, right? So then how would it fit into, like, as you said in the first type of heart, the shaitan feels like he's at home. So is it that the only criterion is that if he's Muslim or kafir, or let's say if he, like, does it also relate to the type of a person that he might be in his heart? Like, for instance, is he someone who tells the truth, or is he someone who's honest? Like, if someone, let's say if someone is a kafir, how about if he's a kafir but he's honest versus a kafir who's dishonest? Or a Muslim, same thing. Like, does the shaitan try to, when someone is a kafir, won't he still try to make him a bad person in the other characteristics that just deal with the regular life?
I'm not sure where we are getting with this question, but the brother is asking that there could be someone who's a disbeliever, but he has honesty within him, and you might have a Muslim who has some dishonesty in him, and that is true. However, with this subject now that we're dealing with, basically, he is talking about these three types of the heart compared to the salah and being focused in the salah, right? So the heart that is the heart of a disbeliever, then let them pray whatever they pray. I mean, they are mushrikun anyways, right? That's why Ibn Abbas answered that, or as the Shaykh mentioned, attributed to him, that the shaitan, they are worshipping other than Allah anyways. So, focus or not focus, or, They might be very much, يعني, they have, and you see some of them having, يعني, amazing devotion, crying, and their faces are red. And I remember seeing one time on a big stadium, and this يعني, famous يعني, person that Allah has exposed, right? He went somewhere in South America, and he was talking, and he had someone with him translating right after him, and they have this spotlight on them in that big stadium, and you look around the people, they were crying, and their faces are red, and wiping the tears and all of that, right? But then they are very much emotional, very much devoted, whatever prayer they are doing, but then all of that is gone with the wind, yani. So that's the case with them. So I think he's talking about those evil insinuations, evil thoughts. Yani the shaitan will be interested in the heart of the believer that has some weakness in him, right? That's where he's interested in that. Those who are hypocrites, let them think whatever they think. If we suppose that there is a hypocrite who is a full hypocrite, yani not Muslim, he prays just so that yani, people think he prays, although he doesn't believe in it. This person, yani, doesn't matter if he is focused or not focused. Yani, there's no point in that. So Allah knows best. This is how it is related. I don't know if I answered the question, right? But then if you're talking about in general, right, يعني, still that person who is a disbeliever but honest, right? Sometimes يعني, the shaitan will show him complete dishonesty to be being honest, right? And that's part of the disbelief that they are in, right? They view worshipping Allah alone to be, something that is, foolish or whatever, right? This is, although they're not, they have honesty in terms of telling the truth or whatever, but then the truth was somewhat overturned, in a way that they see things not the way they are. Even if they try to be honest, they lack the criterion, they lack the light to see things as they are, right? Allah knows best. But he's talking, Allahu A'lam, in terms of the focus and the concentration in the salah. Yes.
Passage, I want to read it for you and ask you a question. It is reported that when a worshipper rises to perform salah, Allah says to his angel, remove all veils.
Mm-hmm.
If the worshipper looks down, Allah will say, draw them back. The remove all veil is obstacle or something, or maybe the veil of Allah itself.
First of all, this report we did last week. That was within the last session, right? And we mentioned there that it's not a hadith. It's not an authentic hadith, right? It is narrated, but it's not authentic. But this says, the meaning of it, let's take the good meaning of it, that when one is attentive in the salah, Allah says, remove all the veils of desires, the veils of, those things, remove, because this person is attentive, he is rewarded that he will be removing all the veils, he gets so close to Allah, right? But then when he turns right or left, Allah says, draw them back. It's like the curtains, are back again, right? So you are like barred from, seeing. Right? So this is the heart. This is now talking about the heart, right? Talking about the heart. We know for sure that no one will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his eyes in this life, right? Allah will only be seen in the next life, right? There's no one who will see Allah in this life, right? Except those claimants who are, so much corrupt, Right? So those words, when you read them, you try to understand them in that sense. Right? Allah knows best. Yes.
I know you mentioned that it's not a hadith, but what's the feeling for the skies or the feeling for Allah's kursi? I don't understand that.
hmm
I don't understand what that means.
The skies, what's that?
The skies,
The filling
yeah.
of the a kursi or a footstool. وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض. If Allah's footstool extends over the heavens and the earth, then which heart, يعني, which house can house Allah, right? If this created thing that Allah created, يعني, the heavens and the earth, which are so big, right? They are the filling of a footstool, right? Allah knows best. That's what He means. The filling, يعني, you know, the filling of a pie, the filling of a, right? So it doesn't fill that. يعني, the heavens and the earth, the footstool extends over them. So that is this created thing, which is one of the greatest things that Allah created. Bigger and larger and greater than that is the throne itself. Right? طيب. Yes.
First heart, you talked about the fact that it is similar to the sky and where the angels reside. And so do you really mean that when you get to that level, it's closer to an...
About the example that the heart resembling the sky, right? He said that the angels, they are in the heaven, the sky. That's where they worship Allah. That's where the wahi, the revelation comes down. You know, yani the heavens, they have lights of obedience and faith and revelation, right? So they have yani status. Also, he said, the heart of the believer, right, has the light of Iman, the light of oneness of Allah, the light of, right, love, and so on and so forth. So, exactly like Allah protected the sky from the Satans, the heart is worthy of being protected and guarded from the Satans. This is how, because that heart is the place for Iman, oneness, Tawheed, you know, love, and so on and so forth. Any other question, even about previous sessions that we had, which you did not have a chance to ask about any of the... Or maybe I should ask you to prepare you for next week.
The quiz is from the beginning or only this class? This quiz for the next week?
What do you think? From the beginning and inclusive of today's. Maybe the sisters didn't hear that question. I will repeat it again. He said that the quiz, is it about just this session or where does it start from? From the beginning of the book till today's session, inshallah, for both of them, inshallah. Both books, inshallah. Victory is only from Allah, the Almighty, the All-Wise. Right? So ask Allah that. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Yes. Any other question from the previous sessions? Anything that, you know, that came up? Yes.
Talk about the heart. This heart is only based upon for the worshipping Allah alone, or also it reflects on our daily life. Somebody, like say for example, I pray, I things do, but and I attack somebody, I dishonor somebody, don't give their rights. Is that this subject talk about only prayer, Iman, and Tawheed, or also I seen like people like me pray, know about Tawheed, like everything, but I attack, slander, dishonest.
Yes. يعني he is asking about the heart. And some people do acts of obedience and they know Allah, they have oneness for Him and so on and so forth. But they oppress others, they violate their rights, they commit injustice and so on and so forth. So what is the case with these people? يعني they diminish of their iman as much as they do of these violations, right? And we mentioned last week that the book of injustice, committing injustice towards others, this Allah does not leave anything of it. He will hold the people accountable, and He will give the rights to those people who were oppressed. Right? So that is the case. More will come. More will come, inshallah. Yes.
Adding to that question, we learn about the salah. Salah will prevent the sinning and the ma'asiyah.
The salah will prevent, okay, the sinning.
Said that anyone person who prayed all night and the day comes and he will do sinning. So that salah should prevent from that.
Mhm.
So when someone salah is not accepted or focused or not enough, then he will do the sins anyway.
Mhm. The salah should forbid the person from obscene matters and from evil. And if it doesn't, then there is some sort of deficiency or flaw in his salah. That is true too. That is also true. So everything from the past is understood, I suppose, and there is no need to ask more questions. تفضل.
One question. In order to get closer to Allah, like last week you said, one who put the heart in the hands of Allah.
Mhm.
So when he drove closer to Allah, which is the means like the previous people, like the number one, well, deficiency in wudu, things. That means the person who do the final, the last one, he does like all the acts of worship. That means like this work and this proper showering and
Yes.
cleaning themselves.
The one who is brought closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, the number 5 of the people who pray, right? That's the one you're asking about. He fulfilled all the requirements, and on top of that, his heart is completely attached to Allah. Not just being busy with the actions inward and outward. He has even more than that. He is completely attached to Allah Azza wa Jal, loving Him and so on and so forth. So it's just not being just restricted with those actions that he's doing inwardly and outwardly. He has extreme love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what he means, yani. He placed his heart in the hands of Allah, right? He's so much eager to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Allah knows best. So if I ask a question that what is the key to paradise? What kind of an answer will I get from you? Huh? The monotheism, the oneness. Okay. There is no key except that it has teeth. What are the teeth of the key? The legislations, the whatever Allah legislated, right?
Not like Arham, the 6 of key, even though somebody would believe.
The key, the teeth, he said about the key, for this key, they are the legislations, ash-shara'i', right? Not only the 5, but more. Jihad, is not for the one of the 5 pillars, right? But then it is one of the highly recommended legislated things. It is part of al-nahi, al-amr bil-ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. This is one of the great, things. Being kind to the parents and looking after them. This is not from the pillars of Islam. But then, as in the hadith, the one who came and asked about, he is upon tawheed, is doing salah, zakah, fasting. So he said he is from the Siddiqeen wa shuhada. He is from the most truthful ones and the martyrs. Then he said, as long as he doesn't show ingratefulness to the parents, right? So if he has all of those good deeds, pillars, and then he is not kind to the parents, then he has to be dealt with. Either punished until he is cleansed of that sin, or Allah will choose to forgive him, right? Or maybe the parents will absolve him of their rights, right? So that's the case. Allah knows best. Should I ask more, or keep this as a surprise for next week? Yes.
You also said that no one goes to the paradise unless he is purified.
No one goes to paradise unless they are purified. Yes. إلا نفس طيبة. Yes.
The purification can be either Allah forgives him or he will put him in fire. Is that like?
Yes, he cannot be cleansed. That's a good question now that I can ask you. He said that there are 3 abodes for 3 types of people. He mentioned this last week. What are the 3 types of people, and what are their 3 abodes? Or leave that for the quiz next week. Yes.
Take the wife of someone else.
Mm-hmm.
That one, and then you disobey Allah. Either Allah will forgive you or He will punish you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take somebody's right, God pays those people's right in the day of judgment.
Okay, well, that's another question that I can ask you now, or I can leave it for next week too. What are the 3 books, and what is the description of each one of them? 3 books on the day of judgment. Dawaween, yes, see? 3 Dawaween. And what is the description of each one of them? But aside from this 3 Dawaween, we have the 3 abodes, 3 homes for 3 types of people. Remember, the home that is at-tib al-mahd, pure goodness. And there is the other home that is khabith mahd, complete filth. Right? And there is the place, the third, which has this and that, some purity and some filth in it. And the 3 people will go to these 3. The one who goes to the complete filthy home, there is the one who doesn't have any good in him, the disbeliever. The place for the completely purely good, this is for the tayyibin, the people of tawheed who are doing what they have to do, no sins. And then you have the place for those who mixed something good with something bad, and those, they are either going to be either forgiven or punished until they are pure, and after they are pure, then they will end up in the completely pure home, right? And there is nothing that will be left except for 2, right? There are 3, but they will end up being 2, because the place for those who mixed good and bad, they will be punished in their place, and then that place will finish, right? And they will end up either in the يعني they will end up in the paradise. They will end up in paradise, right? So there are lots of questions that can be asked. Huh?
Just want to clarify.
Yes.
We know all our records is in either Illiyun or the Sijiyun. There is this, the record of the people of the paradise, Illiyun, or the record that
Mm-hmm.
Sijiyun, that's
Mhm. Uh-huh.
This record is something that is the day of resurrection, something else. So, no.
You're talking about Aliyin and Sijjin. Mhm.
So I know the criminals of disbelievers, they are recorded in the place where the Sijiyun, and then Illiyun is where the people believe and they are.
Believers and disbelievers, okay. Mhm. That's how it will end up being.
But this record, three record you're talking about, explain.
3 homes, not records. The records are the books. That's a different subject.
Then I'm wrong. I wrote the 3 books of record.
Uh-huh.
So home, 3 home.
3 homes, yes. 3 abodes, 3 homes, 3 dur. الدور ثلاثة. 3 homes or houses or place of stay, right? 3 lodgings if you want. طيب. I wanted to just because some of you have the book, the translation of the hadith we mentioned last week, Hadith al-Harith al-Ash'ari, at the end of it, which says, and I order you of 5, that is listening, obedience, jihad, hijrah, migration, and jama'ah. Right? So if I ask you, what are the 5 that Yahya, the son of Zakaria, was ordered to tell his people? And what are the 5 that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded? Will you be able to answer? 5 and 5. You will be if you remember the hadith. But if you don't remember, I'm not going to ask you the wording of the hadith. But you should be able to say, he commanded Tawheed, not to turn in Salah, and to fast, and to be charitable, to give charity, and to do dhikr, right? You should be able to mention those. The first time you hear about them, you look like your face tells me the first time you hear about them, right? Right? And if I ask you what are the 5 that Rasulullah ﷺ commanded at the end of the hadith, you should be able to tell, right? Although Al-Imam Ibn Al-Qayyim, he doesn't go through the 5 that Rasulullah ﷺ ordered. Inshallah, we'll have a different session, a separate session about that. This is not from the book Al-Wabil.as-Sayyib, we'll do from another book, right? But we go through them. But at the end, it says that the one who splits away from the group, then he has taken off the tie of al-Islam from his neck, except if he repents. Right? This is how I translated it last week. But going through the book that some of you have, it says he has taken the noose of al-Islam. The noose of al-Islam from his neck. Noose. And I checked the word noose, it can be used like that. The noose, the noose that they used to hang someone, right? The noose, mishnaka, right? The noose, right? Also it is used as the rope, as the rope. The first word that came to my mind was leash, right? But then the word leash, you cannot eat the leash of Islam. What is that? Right? And then I found this one is saying noose of al-Islam. Islam has nooses that I checked the dictionary. Noose can be used for tying an animal or like that, but I don't think it's used right now.
It's like the long rod would catch the dog.
The noose.
Yeah,
It can be used like a rope to tie an animal, a camel, a dog, or it's used. But this is, I think the translator of the book there is more onto the British wordings. But anyhow, I just said يعني noose of Islam is not, so I was using the word tie of Islam, right? Which there is the word bridle also, but bridle is more used like for the horse and like that, right? So it has a connotation there or a meaning there that's not, So either the tie of al-Islam, or even I was thinking the knot of al-Islam. You know how you tie something and you put a knot on it. Even marriage, the same. Aqd zawaj in Arabic, they say they tie the knot, right? They tie the knot, meaning they combine them to get them attached together. And this is the meaning here, that if you stray away from the jama'ah, it's as if you took off that connection that connects you, that holds you close to what is true and what is right, right? So it says it took off the ribqa. The word ribqa in Arabic is used as a tie for the animal so it doesn't get loose. When the animal gets loose, then it gets lost. And it cannot be found again. It's astray. Maybe the wolf or the lion or the tiger will eat them up, right? So they're gonna get lost. This is the same that happens to the one who strays away, deviates from the jama'ah, right? But then, I found the noose of Islam, kind of, someone might read it and then what's the noose? Islam has nooses that the word means to be a tie, that's how they use it in the language, but it's not commonly used right now. So that is the case. So it's either the tie or the knot of al-Islam, right? That's what it means, inshallah.
Sorry, the two words are sam'a wa ta'a. They are very close to each other. Can you differentiate? It's almost leading.
It's close. It's very close. But then, it's not the subject of our, right? Inshallah, I was just looking yesterday at a book that explained parts of Hadith al-Harith and also explained those parts. Inshallah, so another time. But listening and obeying is very close to each other. Meaning to listen and to obey to the leader, the Muslim leader.
Somebody can listen and they can turn away.
Yes.
Stick to the Jannah, which is referring to the Jannah. Today we are trying to apply this.
Well, again, you are asking about something that is not part of our book. You have enough on your hands, believe me. worry about that because next week.
Can I answer us?
Yes.
He said the 5 things what Rasulullah said, and what is the Yahya alayhi salam said? That
What is?
he said the difference between what Prophet Yahya said and also
Yes, there are 5 words that he was commanded to tell the children of Israel. And then there are 5 that Rasulullah ﷺ commanded at the end of the hadith. So if I ask you what are the 5 that Yahya, the son of Zakaria, was commanded to tell the children of Israel, you should be able to tell, right? At least, 5, right? Tawheed, not to turn in the salah, and right, the fasting, charity, and dhikr, right? You should be able to write these 5 words. And I'm not expecting, the whole hadith or not to write me a book. Just want these words there, right? So this is the case. What are the 2 things that will cause the heart and the body to be straight? 2 things that will cause the heart and the body to be straight. Again, the way you look is you never heard of them, right? This will show next week. Yes, استقامة القلب. يستقيم بشيئين. استقامة القلب والجوارح. Two matters that will cause the heart and the body parts to be straight. First one is the love of Allah should take precedence over anything else. And the second, what he said, not what, not information that you gathered from many lectures that you attended or readings. What is said in the book? لا.
Obey the rules.
Being yourself, belittling yourself.
لا. Don't, depend on your, give me what's in the book. He talked about this a lot. We spent maybe 1 or 2 sessions on that.
Complying with the Sharia law.
Deeds that are done according
What's that?
Like complying with the Sharia law. Obedience to Allah's command. No.
Glorifying?
That's I'm getting the word. Glorifying what? And yes, to glorify the commands and the prohibitions of Allah, and this only emanates or springs from someone who glorifies Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then how do you glorify the commands and the prohibitions? How?
remembering Allah always.
First,
Yes.
obedience, sincere obedience, provisions.
There are specific things that he mentioned that we need to hear. Otherwise, the answer is not. Naam? Yes. And don't oppose it by not taking it lightly and not going on the other side of exaggeration. Right? Ghulu or jafa. Right? And there was a third one.
Not finding an excuse to
In a way that will weaken your following of the orders, right? Or staying away from the prohibitions. And لا يحمل على علة توهن الانقياد. Right? He spent good time in explaining this. Right? So I'm supposed to ask you then, give me an example of someone who's falling into an exaggeration of going to the extreme, right? Of tough and harsh, or being tough and harsh in applying the order. And give me an example of being relaxed and taking it easy, right? He gave examples, a number of examples to that, right? Right? So this is the case. Yani those are the things you need to reflect upon. Read again, so refresh your memory. This is very close. 2-3 weeks ago we were doing this, right? So inshallah, next week you will be ready for this. Inshallah. You want to stop recording and start again? What do you want to do? Because we still have good time, yani.
About 80 minutes now.
Naam?
About 80 minutes now.
So what do you want me to do? Stop and restart again, or we just continue?
Continue.
خلاص. So we continue. Inshallah. طيب, so you have more to be responsible for next week, right? Inshallah. He says, عدنا إلى شرح حديث الحارث. Let's go back. We go back to explaining the hadith of Al-Harith, in which he mentioned how the servant will guard and protect himself from his enemy. He said, alayhi salatu wassalam, and now he is quoting or reporting what Yahya said to his people, alayhi salatu wassalam, and I command you to fast. For the example of that is the example of a man within a group of people, within a band. And he has surrah. He has a bag of musk. You know how those, sometimes the perfumes, they come in a little bag or a pouch. And they are put in the pocket, So you are around him and around someone, you smell it. Right? You don't see it, but you smell it. They have it, in a small bag, and they put it inside their pockets. So this is the example of the fasting person. He is within a group, and he has a bag of musk. All of them are amazed, or they like the scent of the musk. He said, surely the scent of fasting is sweeter in the sight of Allah, sweeter to Allah from the scent of musk. Right? He said that Rasulullah ﷺ here, he gave the example of the man with this pouch or with this bag of musk. That is because it is covered from the eyes. It is concealed under his clothes, like the habit of the person who's carrying musk with him. And likewise the fasting person. His fasting is covered and concealed from it being witnessed by the people, by the creation. They cannot sense it, they cannot see it. And the fasting, they cannot sense the fasting of the fasting person. Now, the fasting person is the one whose body parts have been withheld, or he withheld himself from sins. His tongue is fasting from lying and using obscene words, fuhsh, qawl az-zur, making false statements. Also, his stomach is fasting from food and drink. And his private parts, they are fasting from intercourse. So if he speaks, he does not speak with anything that will yajrah, he says, that will wound, that will infringe upon his fasting. If he did something, he will not do what will corrupt his fasting. So his speech, all of it, will come out beneficial and righteous speech. Likewise, his deeds. So it is having the same position. It has the status of the scent, the good scent, that the one who sits with hamil al-misk, the one who sits with the carrier of musk, he will smell that. Likewise, the one who sits with the fasting person, he will benefit by sitting with him. And he will be safe. In that sitting, he will be safe from falsehood, lying, wickedness, and transgression. This is the legislated fasting. This is the legal fast. Not only to withhold oneself, to refrain from eating and drinking. For in the authentic hadith, the one who does not leave making false statements and acting upon it, not the one who does not leave falsehood and acting upon it, then Allah is not in need of him to leave his food and drink. Also in the hadith, how many of a fasting person, his share of his fast is only hunger and thirst. Many people, they will fast, but the reward they will get, they don't get anything except making themselves hungry and thirsty. Why? Because the reward is gone along with the sins that they are committing. So they do not reap the fruits of the ibadah of fasting. So fasting is for the body parts to be refraining from sins, for the stomach to refrain from food and drink. So exactly like food and drink will break the fast and corrupt it, likewise sins, they will break, they will cut off and sever the reward. They will cut off and sever the reward and will corrupt the fruit of fasting. So he will be like the one who did not fast. So if the one who is fasting and is committing sins all day long, Do we tell him that your fasting is gone, you have to repeat the fast? No, the fasting is done. But does he get reward? Whatever reward he got for fasting, he cancelled it by the evil deeds that he was doing. Now, there is a difference regarding this scent from the fasting person. When is it going to be happening? When does it take place? Is it in this life or in the next life? The breath of the mouth of the fasting person is sweeter to Allah than musk. This is in the dunya or in the akhirah or in the next life. There is a discussion that happened between the two scholars, Abu Muhammad Izz-Din ibn Abd al-Salam and Abi Amr ibn Salah. They were, in difference. They differed with one another regarding this. So Abu Muhammad, he was inclined that this is only in the next life, special for the next life. That the fasting person, when he comes on the day of judgment, his mouth will be smelling good. But this is in the next life. And he authored a book in that regard. As for Ibn Salah, then he was inclined that this is in this life and in the next life. في الدنيا والآخرة. This scent will be in this, the good scent or the good fragrance that comes out from the mouth of the fasting person. This will be in this life and the next life. And he also authored a book regarding that, and he refuted in it the other scholar, Abu Muhammad. Both of them are very famous Shafi'i scholars, rahimahumullah. Now, Abu Amr, he took the same position of Abi Hatim ibn Hibban, the famous muhaddith. In his Sahih, he put chapters, and the titles of the chapters are like this, mentioning the clarification that the breath or the change of breath of the mouth of the fasting person is sweeter to Allah than the fragrance of musk, than the scent of musk. Then he mentioned the hadith of Al-A'mash from Abi Salih, from Abi Hurairah, from the Prophet ﷺ, that all of the deeds of the son of Adam are for him except for fasting. Fasting is mine and I reward for it. And the breath, the change of breath in the mouth of the fasting person is sweeter in the sight of Allah than the scent of musk. Then he said, this is still Ibn Hibban in his Sahih, another chapter now, mentioning the clarification that the change of breath or the breath of the mouth of the fasting person will be sweeter in the sight of Allah from the scent of musk on the day of judgment. Then he mentioned a hadith from the hadith of Ibn Jurayj, from Ata, from Abi Salih al-Zayyat, that he heard Abu Hurairah say that Rasulullah ﷺ said, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala said, all the deeds of the son of Adam are for him, except for fasting, it is mine and I reward for it. By the one in whose the soul of Muhammad is in his hand, by the one whose Muhammad's soul is in his hand, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is making an oath by Allah. The breath, the bad breath, that is the khuluf, the bad breath of the mouth of the fasting person, it is sweeter in the sight of Allah on the day of judgment from the scent of musk. The fasting person has two occasions of joy that he enjoys. When he breaks his fast, he is happy to break his fast. And when he meets his Lord, he will be happy with his fasting. He will be happy with his fasting. Then Abu Hatim, again, this is now, he is quoting from Sahih Ibn Hibban. Ibn Hibban, his kunya is Abu Hatim, right? He said, شعار المؤمنين يوم القيامة, the sign, the distinguishing sign of the believers on the day of judgment. This is another chapter now. On the day of judgment is the whiteness because of their wudu in this worldly life, as a distinguishing factor between them and the rest of the nations. And also shi'aruhum, and their sign, their distinguishing sign on the day of judgment is that is with their fasting, that the fact that they were fasting is طيب خلوف أفواههم, the good scent that their mouth, their breath has, the breath of their mouths have, that they will be sweeter or better than the fragrance of musk, so that they will be recognized between those people, between that group. They will be recognized with that action. May Allah make us subhanahu wa ta'ala amongst them. So you know that on the day of judgment, as in the authentic ahadith, the Prophet ﷺ will know the believers by the wudu. They will have whiteness on their foreheads, forelocks, and they will have also whiteness on their legs, right? So here it mentions the tahjil, the whiteness of the legs. Also he said, the sign on the day of judgment, the sign that they are believers and they were fasting, is that their mouths will have a very good scent. You know, the day of judgment is a long day, right? So the mouths there on the day of judgment, the mouths of the believers, because they used to fast in this dunya, they will have good fragrance in their mouths, like better than that of musk. And this is like a distinguishing sign for the believers on the day of judgment. Then he said, again now, Ibn Hibban, alayhi rahmatullah, another chapter, mentioning the clarification that the breath, the change of breath of the mouth of the fasting person could also be sweeter than the fragrance of musk in this life, in this worldly life. Then he mentioned the hadith, Shu'bah from Sulaiman, from Dhakwan, from Abi Hurairah, that the Prophet ﷺ said, every good deed that the son of Adam does will be multiplied by 10, tenfold, 10 hasanat, up to 700 times, up to 700 times. Allah Azza wa Jal says, except for fasting, it is done for me, it is mine, and I reward for it. I alone assign and allocate the reward for it. He leaves the food because of me, min ajli. He leaves his food because of me, and the drink because of me, and I reward for it. The fasting person has two occasions of joy. A joy when he breaks the fast, and a joy when he meets his Lord Azza wa Jal, and the khuluf, the change, the breath of the mouth of the fasting person, when it changes, when it emanates, when it happens. The change of breath when it happens, right? The change of breath when it happens is sweeter in the sight of Allah from the fragrance of musk, right? That is what is in the Sahih of Ibn Hibban. Now, Abu Muhammad, the other side of the story, Abu Muhammad, alayhi rahmatullah, the other scholar who took the different position that this is in the next life, he said, he used as evidence, he used the hadith in which it restricts the goodness to the day of judgment. The hadith that it is going to be on the day of judgment, that this, which already was mentioned by Ibn Hibban, that this is on the day of judgment. Right? Sweeter to Allah than the fragrance of musk. Now, he said, Ibn al-Qayyim says, I say, and what testifies to his position is the hadith that is agreed upon, muttafaq alayh, which says, by the one in whose hand is my soul. Rasulullah ﷺ is making an oath by Allah. His soul is in the hand of Allah. By the one in whose hand is my soul, there is no person who is wounded for the sake of Allah. Wounded, that is in the battlefield, for the sake of Allah. And Allah knows who, or most knowledgeable, of the one who gets wounded for his sake. Right? Allah knows who is sincerely being wounded for his sake, and the one who is other than that, who doesn't have sincerity. Right? So it says, no person who gets wounded for the sake of Allah, and Allah is most knowledgeable of the one who is wounded for his sake, except that he will come, this wounded person, he will come on the day of judgment, and his wound is gushing blood. The blood is coming out of there. اللون لون دم والريح ريح مسك. The color is the color of blood. So he's wounded in this life, in the battlefield. He will come on the day of judgment with the same wound. The color is the color of blood, but the scent is the scent of musk. The person who gets wounded sincerely for the sake of Allah, he will come on the day of judgment like that, wounded, and blood is coming. The color is color of blood, but the scent, the smell, the aroma is that of musk. Right? So here, the Prophet ﷺ, Imam al-Qayyim says, he mentions that the scent of the wound of the wounded person in the way of Allah, it is like the fragrance of musk on the day of judgment. And this is similar, right, to him ﷺ informing about the change of breath in the mouth of the fasting person for al-hiss, our physical senses show that this is blood in this life. And this is a change, it's a bad breath in this life. But Allah Azza wa Jal turns this to this one and the other one. He turns the scent of them into the fragrance of musk on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment. Now back again, Sheikh Abu Amr, the other side, he uses as evidence what Abu Hatim Ibn Hibban alayhi rahmatullah, he mentions in his Sahih that this is restricted to the time when it changes. Again, that حين يخلف, the mouth, the bad breath when it changes, the breath of the mouth of the fasting person, when it changes, is better, is sweeter in the sight of Allah than the fragrance of musk. So the change when it happens, right? This is what the hadith says, right? So this is how he says, even in this worldly life, because it says the change when it occurs is sweeter to Allah than the fragrance of musk. And this shows that it's at the time when it changes, that's when it is sweeter. So this shows that also it is in this worldly life. Right? Now he goes on to, he mentions a hadith. He mentions a hadith that is not that strong, or in a weak hadith, which says that in the evening, yumsun, that the believers, when they fast, when the evening time comes, the evening comes when the scent of their mouths is sweeter in the sight of Allah than the fragrance of musk. He used this hadith also, Ibn Salah, to show that this is also better than the fragrance of musk in this worldly life. But this hadith is not that strong. Is not that strong in terms of chain. Is a weak hadith. Now, then he says that the Shaykh Ibn Salah, he mentioned the explanations of the scholars regarding what does it mean that it is sweeter, it is better in the sight of Allah than the fragrance of musk. He said, and he mentioned that they figuratively explain this to mean that Allah praises the fasting person, Allah is pleased with the fasting person. He said, according to the habit of many of them in using this figurative meanings, applying those figurative meanings, right? من غير ضرورة, without a need, without a necessity. He said, حتى كأنه قد بورك له فيه. It's as if this ta'wil, this usage of figurative meanings, figure of speech, right? Not the real meaning, but figurative meaning. It's as if there is blessings in doing that. Right? He said, فهو موكل به, as if he is entrusted as in charge or giving the duty of explaining away all of these words, giving them figurative meanings. Right? You have the real meaning and you have the figurative meaning or the apparent meaning, and then what they call majaz, figure of speech. Right? So here the hadith says it's sweeter to Allah, sweeter in the sight of Allah than musk. They say it means not that it is sweeter to Allah, atyab, right? It means Allah praises, Allah is pleased with the person. Yani, what is wrong with saying that it is sweeter to Allah? Just leave it as it is, right? But then he said the habit, the custom of many of them is using those figurative meanings as if they are blessed, as if they are in charge of, entrusted with using those figurative meanings without a necessity, right? But then they just go like that. He said, and what is the necessity that will call for giving a figurative meaning, ta'wil, to sweeter in the sight of Allah from the scent of musk? Yani explaining it to mean Allah praises the person, Allah is pleased with his action, and taking out the wording from its real meaning, yani using other than the real meaning. What kind of a necessity? He said many of those explainers, they will give the word a meaning, right? They will start a new meaning, yani for the word, right? Then they would claim that this meaning is what is meant by that word, right? By that word, without even looking at the context and how it was used, and that word is used for the meaning that he assigned, right? He doesn't look into that, or whether the language accepts that or not, or whether it is in the language or not, right? And the Shaykh goes on to censor this action, to say that they shouldn't be doing this, because this includes testifying that Allah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they meant by their wording, by the words they said, they meant this or that. So if this is not known by the words themselves that are used, if it's not known that those words are given those meanings, or that the custom of the legislator, when he uses that word, he means this, or it's the continuous habit of it, or the most of the time, the overwhelming majority of the time, he's using that word for that meaning. يعني either this or this testimony is false. And the least of the condition of this testimony is that it will be shahadatun bila ilm, a testimony without knowledge. as an example, the famous ayah, Ar-Rahman ala al-Arsh istawa, right? The ever merciful rose over the throne, right? They said istawa here, it doesn't mean rose over, right? They mean stawla. Oh, he took control and he took reign and he overpowered. Now, why would they use this? They made up a meaning for istawa, right? That he took control and like that, which the scholars say it's not even in the language. They gave it this new meaning, and then they said the Quran, the ayah means this, which there is no need for this at all, right? There is no need for this at all. And this, the least of it is that a testimony without knowledge. So he's saying also in this hadith, sweeter to Allah than the fragrance of musk. They say it's not really sweeter to Allah. It's actually Allah praises the one who fasts. Allah is pleased with the one who fasts. He's saying what is it that's calling for this change of meaning, this giving it the figurative meaning. There is no need for this. He said it is well known that the best of fragrances that the people have is the fragrance of musk. So the Prophet ﷺ gave the example of this purity, this goodness of the breath of the fasting person to Allah, in the sight of Allah. He gave it the example of the goodness of the scent of musk according to us, and even greater than that. And this reference of sweeter, yani that is referred to Allah, right, is like referring the rest of His attributes and actions to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is sweeter to Allah than in a way that does not resemble how we find things sweet, or how we find them good scent or whatever. For the way the attributes of Allah are completely different from the way we look at them, or the way we have our own attributes. Exactly like His pleasure, His anger, His happiness, His hate, His love, His detesting, subhanahu wa ta'ala, does not resemble those same attributes that are referred to when they are referred to the created being. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, exactly like His that, His person, His entity, does not resemble the entities of His creation, and His attributes are not like the qualities or the attributes of His creation. His actions do not resemble, they are not like their actions. So it's in the same way. And He, subhanahu wa ta'ala, He likes, He finds good and pure the good words. يَسْتَطِيب الْكَلِمْ الطَّيِّب. So those good words that the people say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes them. They are pure to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those good words, they rise up to Him. And the good righteous actions also, they rise up to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah raises those up. So this istitaba, this finding of this, the breath of the fasting person, sweeter to Allah than the fragrance of musk, is not like we find things sweet. Then this explanation, this way of figurative meaning that was given, it does not remove the ambiguity, does not remove the problem. For those, the same thing they found problematic with finding it to be sweet or sweeter to Allah, the same thing can be said about pleasure. They say, Allah, it means that Allah is pleased with the fasting person, right? So the question is His pleasure like our pleasure? Like when we get pleased? The answer is